I think for almost everybody, the most important switch you should make in recovery is moving away from the thinking mind to the part of you that is present. My fatigue vanished almost. Going for a walk half an hour later. We should choose the present moment. So you might think, like, why do we need to switch from to the present moment? I really like my thoughts and I'd like to live there, and I can't bear the present moment, or I can only do it for like a handful of minutes or moments. So why you need to do this? So emotions are like a call to action most of the time, especially what we call negative emotions. A call to action to change something. And if we suppress those negative emotions by thinking, we become disattached by the thinking mind. We become disattached from the feeling body, from the emotional body. This will build up stress in the body, and after a while your body has to find different ways to communicate with you. So your body starts to create symptoms like fatigue. If we don't want our bodies to scream at us, we could make it easier for the emotions by becoming really attuned to the body and the feelings and the emotions. This way the body doesn't have to scream anymore. This will take time because you're so used to blocking out certain things. Another really cool thing from the present moment is that it is so beautiful. So yeah, I'd like to talk about that more. I remember from 2.5 years ago, I was always so busy in my mind, and suddenly I was looking around because I had nothing to do anymore. So I was looking around and things looked different for some reason. I couldn't really describe it back then. It was as if I saw color for the first time, but it's not really color, but maybe it's just presence. But I think that's a good analogy to say, like, I was always looking black and white, and now I suddenly saw colors in the world. But it only lasted for a short moment. But those moments became bigger until I really stopped thinking at all. And I was looking around, so beautiful. And the qualities of the present moment are so amazing that all of the things I ever looked for in the world were already there. So the present moment is really soft, it's full of acceptance, it's abundant, it's allowing everything, it's non-judgmental, it makes sure we connect with ourselves, and it's pretty graceful. And overall I would call these qualities, I would call it love. So all the love we're actually looking for is in the present moment, and our minds, our thinking minds, are blocking us from seeing it. You know, you've probably heard of the theory that the mind is divided in two parts, the thinking and the creative part. What I've come to understand of it is it's probably a little bit different. It's the present part and the story part. And we can call the story part creative because we can make stories there. But the stories, finding meaning, theories, or panicking about certain things, becoming afraid, or about thoughts, not about the emotions, is all in this part of the brain. And after a while, I don't know if it's left or right, by the way, but after a while we completely forget about the stuff that is actually here, because we run away from our feelings, and that's why we have a lot of thoughts, and the feelings are not resolved. So the present moment is the key for connecting with your body and your feelings, but as well of finding everything you ever looked for. There is a story from Hermes Trismegistus He's a mixture of a Greek god and an Egyptian god or something, and he lived like a couple thousand years ago, maybe 3,000 years ago. And he said in his wisdom books that the man who doesn't take time to admire the beauty of the flower next to the road will be punished. Life will be taken away from him. But the man who takes the time to admire the flower will be rewarded with infinity. And it becomes pretty clear when you stop thinking that the infinity is now. So as long as you choose to see the beauty of now, you get rewarded with infinity. Because it's always now. Think about it. It has never been another moment. And our minds, they cannot live in this present moment. So they always like to project or think about something or make stories, make theories. And we're at that part of our mind, not for a pleasant reason, but for a not so pleasant reason. So what we'll find there is also not so pleasant, because the thoughts won't be that happy. But it's so easy to switch from the thinking mind to the present moment mind. And when I first did it, I haven't really talked a lot about it, but so I was so happy and I was dancing, and it's just amazing. I felt like I was in love, and that period lasted like half a year. I saw beauty everywhere. I was completely in love. And I went to bed, and I felt like my mind wanted to, sometimes a theory comes in, or a thought is suddenly, slowly there. My mind wants to grab onto a certain thought. But I didn't do it. So after a while, there was like a buildup of energy in my head. It felt like really big. And it felt like it was going downwards. But every time my mind wanted to grab onto a theory, maybe even a theory about something is happening in my head, it stopped. So I really allowed myself to not do it. It took like an hour, and suddenly the build-up, what was over here, it fell through my body. And the feelings that I got was like a waterfall of pleasant love or something. And so it went down from here, and my whole body started shaking. So it went down like this, like all the time it went. Some people can say it's a Kundalini experience or a spiritual orgasm. I like to think a little different. I'm not sure what it is, but I would see it's like the build-up from the blockage that we have in the brain from energy. It's preventing us from flowing properly. I mean, we're all energy anyway. So I think that the energy can flow much better without the constant need to grab onto thoughts. Anyway, I did this for a while, but my thinking habits were pretty strong. So after a month, I gradually got back to my thinking mind, and things got worse at that period. So I was doing pretty okay at that period, but then I started thinking I was getting really bad. I got light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, couldn't walk anymore, and so I was in bed again, knowing that I really screwed up again. And I started to remember my period of not thinking, and that it helped me so much. So I thought, like, I'm gonna really commit to this now, like completely. So I started focusing on the present moment only. A thought, I don't care about it. Present moment, here, now, self. And by self, I don't mean this form of Daniel. So always here, now, self. That's what I focus on. Feeling, I can, observe, what is it called? The senses, smelling, seeing, just looking around, where am I? And suddenly you get like, if you're being caught up in the mind, like 99.9% of the world, you get such a nice feeling, like you're in this space, in this room, and it's so joyous to be here. And within half an hour, my light sensitivity and my sound sensitivity was gone. My fatigue vanished almost. Well, it's not completely gone, but I started going for a walk half an hour later. And that for me was amazing. And it also tells me that the symptoms from the body, like the fatigue, is also like it's a call for action, and it could be for multiple things. For me, it was like more joy, but less thinking, most important, more connection, all of these things. So thinking is stressful for the body, so the body wants to limit it, and therefore we should choose the present moment. And many people who I talked to in the last years, they found it so difficult to be present in the present moment. I guess you really have to be rock bottom in order to choose this. And that's also a nice opportunity for having chronic fatigue syndrome, that you can really devote your life to the present moment and find a different way. It's like most people are in the gray areas of thinking, but we were like black, and then we can experience white, and white is so beautiful. And okay, now it's like a few years later, my thinking has got really calm, probably also because I don't think anymore to distract from feelings. So I do think much more than I used to, but it's really relaxed and my body doesn't mind anymore. And I wrote this 2.5 years ago, that many people talk about joy that they haven't experienced yet. Many people talk about love that they never experienced. And that's because the mind, who is in constant need of these qualities, makes frauds. And so you're addicted to thinking, and in order to be able to keep going with this, you create fakes of the present moment. And this is what I wrote down 2.5 years ago. In order to seek these qualities in a non-existent frame of time, our mind has to come up with fakes, a fraud to produce a feeling of happiness. Of course, they cannot even come close to the experience of the now, but one can say people often talk about joy that they haven't experienced. If a small glimpse of the if a small glimpse of the now shines through, the ego likes to claim the victory. Some of the ego's substitutions for now are possessions, rituals, and accomplishments. The things you once enjoyed will be your prison when you want to own it. A ritual can make you give a glimpse of the world beyond the mind, but by giving the ritual the power, you will become enslaved by the ritual. You would want to become someone in the world in the form of accomplishments. But every accomplishment, ritual, or possession can only give you a short release of the mind's cramped condition. If you don't know the real experience of joy, life will become small and petty. The mind will come up with projects like marriage, getting children, getting the promotion, buying a new bathroom or kitchen, or escapism strategies like binge watching, intellectual amusement, holidays, alcohol and drugs, and so on. Life will become shallow. It's a trap, like being caught in a maze without exits. You will find yourself in a brand new bathroom without enjoyment about it. You will find yourself on a beach without the ability to enjoy it. Maybe you will start making pictures to capture a moment you were never in at the first place. And if you still haven't found what you're looking for after your midlife crisis, you might become numb. The only way to escape the maze is to get into the moment. Find out what you really are. The opposite of ratio. Become present, and it will be like a two-dimensional body that was trying to escape at the two-dimensional maze will become a three-dimensional body and steps out of the maze without any effort. After in this period that I started taking walks again, after these sort of Kundalini orgasms or whatever it is, I found people here at the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's like 500 meters from here. It's a lot of windmills. And there was a couple from India, and they were so looking at everything, how beautiful it was. And they told me that they would like to live here because it's so beautiful. And they lived in India, also in the countryside, near the countryside. So, I mean, that's pretty beautiful too. But what happens is that when the mind is only trying to be present when it's observing new environments. So when you think it's so beautiful here, after half a year you won't see it anymore because it's become normal and you will go back to the thinking mind. But there is an option. We can always choose here, now, self. So anyway, take care, happy healing, subscribe to my channel, and go to my website and read my blogs, danielvanloosbroek.com. So see you later, hang in there.